I want to thank you again for joining us today. We have a real treat. I think everybody knows what we're looking at. This is a classic Rover Mini, and Minis have always been a great car. Enthusiasts love them. People who are not even car people love them because it's just an iconic look, and they have such a reputation of being fun. This is a 96, and that was right before BMW bought Mini, and this particular one was built by the Rover division. It's a British company, and research has shown that these cars were built in England, in the UK, and 46% of all of the Minis that were produced in the 90s, 46% stayed in the UK. 46% of them were exported, and that leaves about 8%, and those cars were actually exported and assembled in the countries that required their vehicles to have some type of a percentage of their local country participating in the production of the car. Anyway, it's a 96. The owner bought this car a couple years ago, and he bought it from an importer that specialized in importing Japanese cars. One of the things that makes this really good is the Japanese people have a reputation for they're always looking for excellence in things they do, excellence and passion for precision. So the cars over there are handled and treated very correctly, I should say. So when the car needs something, they do it. They want to make sure it's all running in tip-top condition. And on top of that, the government is very strict in what you can do. So they have a lot of inspections and things like that. So you got to keep your car in tip-top shape. So that tells us one thing, that a car coming from Japan that's been owned and driven over there has been handled in a different way than places where they don't have the same regard for their equipment. The Japanese Minis, the ones that were sent over there, they all had air conditioning, correct? And that was one of the things. And also, you may have seen earlier in the other video, the radiator is pitched to the side, so it's not in the front like some of the productions are. It's a 96. It's British racing green with a white top. It has a 1300cc motor in it, and we're going to walk around it a little bit and take a look at it. Now, you may ask yourself, how can we have a car that was brought in from Japan and bring it into the United States? I mean, what gives on that? Aren't there laws and so forth? And the laws had changed years ago, and this really works for enthusiasts and people who love automobiles, especially one as special as this one. If the car is over 25 years old, then it's exempt from the federal EPA and DOT regulations. So that opened up a world for people to be able to share beautiful cars like this. So we're going to walk around the car and take a look at it. And the owner's here. So when you bought this car about 2 years ago, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I bought it just over 2 years ago.
Got a little traffic going by us here, but so you bought this about 2 years ago.
I did.
Okay.
Just over 2 years ago.
And now you bought it from a dealer that specialized in importing Japanese cars?
That's correct. They had imported this one just for the purpose of resale, and they were out of Michigan, and I purchased it from them.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, the paint is beautiful on this thing. Just walking around it and just looking at the details, it's just a really good-looking car. I noticed too that these are pretty small wheels. I guess the Mini has mini wheels too.
It does. This was one of the more original styles that was found on them, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they're 10-inch wheels.
Okay. And now, did you put the tires on here, or did they have those on there for you?
No, those tires are the ones that came on it.
Okay. Well, looking at them, they're Yokohama tires, and I know that these are driven passionately in England, but they're good-looking tires. They got a sport-type tread on them, so that's a good-looking thing. Now, it has air conditioning. We mentioned that earlier, and a 4-speed transmission.
Correct.
Okay.
Manual transmission.
Okay. Looking inside here, I can see that along with the sport look, they have a sport mirror on there that probably was something that they upgraded. And looking at the car inside, let me push this with my left hand here. Looking inside here, first thing I see is it has a sport seat in it.
Correct.
So this is a driver type of a seat, just like you would have in a race car. And basically, you don't sit on this seat, you sit in this seat. And they have the slots in the back where you could put a racing harness on, or below where you can put seat belts through that as well. And so you can be in there and you could really, it'll hug you.
It does. It's a tight seat.
It's a tight seat. Now, it also noticed that it has a roll bar in it. Now,
Correct.
Did that come that way as well?
I think it came that way as well.
Okay. So it looks to me like this was set up for from sport driving, and also with the addition of the roll bar that's in there, you can see the padding all the way around it. That does two things for us. One thing is it adds structure to the car. So you can tighten a car up. The cars will flex when they're going through a tight turn, and the roll bar adds more stability and strength to the whole integrity of the body. And of course, if you ever happen to be in an incident, then it's going to give you protection from the top as well, more so than you would with a car that doesn't have that. Now, looking down here, it looks to me like the dashboard has new type of gauges in there, so they don't look like the stock gauges.
No, those aren't stock gauges. They're from a company called Stack.
Okay.
And it came that way as well. And from what I've gathered from certain people, Stack makes a great instrument.
So this was all done, and you didn't have to do that yourself. The previous owner, it looks like he knew what he was doing. And we'll look down here at all the gauges. Yeah. So you've got a little bit of everything up here: water temperature, oil pressure, alternator. You've got a speedometer. You've got a tachometer. Of course, your fuel gauge. You got about everything you need right there.
Yep, definitely.
And you can look at it just as a blink. Now, also, that looks like the steering wheel doesn't look stock to me. That's probably more of a sport type wheel.
I believe so. I believe that was changed out at some point.
Okay.
Not by me either.
Okay.
The only really modifications that I have made to this car are minimal. I did change out the shift knob.
Yes.
And then it does have a steering column lowering bracket on it.
Okay, so if you don't like the angle of the steering wheel, you can move it up or down?
Yep, so if you don't like the angle, you can take that bracket out.
Okay.
Move it up or down, or take the bracket out entirely.
Okay. Well, I like that too. Well, the glass is all good to me. I'm looking through that. It's all nice and clear. The paint is in nice shape. The interior is in nice shape. And of course, you do have a back seat. So you've got room in the back seat to take additional passengers, or even put some other items back there. Now, the motor's in the front, so can you open the back for us?
Yep.
Let's take a look and see what we have back here. Okay. All right. So you got a little more storage there. Now, the seats, they're upright all the time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But they were smart in that they put the battery back here, because that's going to kind of balance the car out, because you have the weight of the engine up front. Here's where the VIN number is and the build tag on it. That's all nice and clean. I guess is there room there if you need to put a spare in there?
Yep.
That's probably where that would go too. All righty. Well, I tell you what, this is an awful nice car. How does it drive?
Great. It's a lot of fun to drive.
I bet.
They're very responsive. It has a short wheelbase, and you get more attention in this car than almost any other car.
Well, back in the 60s, when people were stealing Corvettes over here because they wanted the performance cars, they were stealing Minis over in the UK, because these things can flat move, and you can go around a curve, and because of the low center of gravity, and the way the wheels are so pushed out to each corner, it corners really well.
It does. Yeah, it is a lot of fun to drive.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you for giving us a little review here. It's an awful beautiful car. You've had some fun with it, and it's time to move on because of You got other things coming up in the family and things like that?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and we'll take another look at it, a little deeper dive in our next video. Thank you.